Welcome everybody to my Double Dragon 2 playthrough with commentary for the NES. Lord Kayoss here, and we are 3 games into our LJN series. That being the case, I thought we'd take things in a totally different direction today. Dug out one of my favorite beat-em-up games of all time, Double Dragon 2 for the NES, which is the sequel to what many people hail as the greatest beat-em-up of all time, the original Double Dragon, which I am a huge fan of as well. But I tend to favor the second one a little bit more, and we're going to jump right into it here. And one of the first things to point out to you, if you're unaware, there may be some people out there who don't know this. There's a trick you can do in this game. If you set it to 2-player B mode, you're pretty much activating friendly fire. And this is where Billy and Jimmy Lee, not Bimmy, which was the famous typo from Double Dragon 3. We'll talk about that game here in a few minutes. But when Billy and Jimmy Lee are on the screen at the same time, you can activate this friendly fire method from the 2-player B option here, to where you can basically kick the crap out of your brother, and every time that you kill him, you will actually steal one of his lives. So we'll actually take the main character's lives from 3 to 7. And I'm not really so much worried about doing that from a competition standpoint. I'm not too much worried about fighting the AI here. Even on Supreme Master, it's really not that difficult. But what it will help against, later on in the game, we've got some pretty difficult jumping we're going to have to do from the Haunted Mansion stage, and then I think it's level 7 is the trap room. Got a couple difficult jumps there, and there's not a lot of room for error. If you screw up and fall, you'll fall into the spike pit, and it immediately costs you a life. There are no continues in this game, so once your 3 lives are gone, you're done, and you have to start all over again. So, for the sake of the review here, and again, if you guys are not aware of this trick, I'll show it to you. And you see Jimmy's lives went from 3 to 2, mine went from 3 to 4. And don't want to bore you to death, I'll go ahead and skip over me kicking the crap out of him a couple more times here, and we'll flash forward to when I have the 7 lives. Alright, got the 7 lives, and we are good to go here. That's actually one of the rare tricks that I discovered on my own. I was an avid reader of Nintendo Power back in the day, but I think before I got my first subscription, I actually found that trick on my own. Obviously, there was no internet back in those days, and a few of my friends who played the game really knew about it. Well, none of them did that I'm aware. So, in my circle at least, I was the first to find that trick. My one claim to fame, I guess, from back in that day. And in case you missed it, the storyline of Double Dragon 2, it kind of goes in the direction of the first one, where Billy's girlfriend, Marion, gets kidnapped. In the second game, they actually gun her down and kill her, which, again, I guess for video games back in the day, I'm a little surprised that they went that direction, especially with the whole violence against women thing, always seemingly an issue. But she's dead, and obviously Billy's not too happy about that, so we gotta fight the gang, kick some ass here, and avenge her death. And just speaking from the mechanics and the play control here, I really love this game. Again, I'm a huge fan of the original Double Dragon. Obviously, that set the standard of what a beat-em-up game should be. Excuse me. We saw many games in the future mimic that style of play. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game, Turtles 3 on the NES, and then Turtles in Time on the Super NES. They all followed that format, and all are considered classic beat-em-ups. Final Fight is another one. You had Renegade on the NES years ago. I mean, just all kinds. I mean, there's no way I could possibly recall them all from memory as I sit here and play through. But Double Dragon, definitely the innovator, many levels. And with the second one, I feel like they took everything that was great about the first one and made it even better. And I've never understood this guy's deal on why he disappears and comes back for one more round, and you knock him out again, he does the same thing, except this time he stays gone. Not real sure why, but he's done for, and we're moving on. I don't know why. I always like to activate the spin kick right there, just because I remember the commercials way back in the day when this came out for the Nintendo. I always had the guy jump and execute the spin kick at that point. So whenever I'm on this level, I don't know. I always do it. I have a very photographic memory, and it really doesn't take a whole lot to trigger my nostalgia for certain things. So I guess it serves some kind of purpose somewhere in my mind. You always want to stay clear of this helicopter. As soon as you complete your climb on that pole, immediately go back down and get ready to pick these people off here. It's funny, I tell you, it almost seems like there's only certain times you can execute that spin kick. So many times it would be useful right there, and it seems like that's one of the hardest places I find that I can execute it. There we go. One of my favorite moves in the game. Definitely the spin kick, but one I like even more is that right there, that hyper knee, whatever they call it. That is just a badass move you can execute. Doesn't take a lot to pull it off, especially if you're sporting a turbo controller, as I talked about in the Jaws review. I always use the NES Max. It just has a really good feel and controller that I guess helps me unlock the power, so to speak. And these guys really get on my nerves, especially later in the game where you have to fight them again. I think it's the 8th level. Oh, well, they're already done for. Good deal. And it's funny, that little end-stage melody that plays after you beat the boss and complete the level. They actually reused that. They redid it in like a heavy metal version for the newer game Double Dragon Neon that was released on PlayStation Network. I guess it's been a couple of years ago now. I'm assuming it's out for Xbox too. I really don't know, but I would imagine that it is. But I recently discovered the game. It had already been out for a couple of years before I ran across it. And I have to say, it is a very vintage piece of nostalgia. Me and a buddy of mine have actually been playing through it. We haven't got to the end of it yet, just because we typically meet up about once a week, and we'll pick up where we left off the week before and press on a little bit before the drinking really commences and we forget about who we are and what we're doing. But we really enjoyed playing through it, and Double Dragon Neon, if you haven't come across that game, highly, highly recommend you check it out if you're a fan of this. Alright. The mysterious undersea base. An interesting tidbit, I guess, about the original Double Dragon. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, I wasn't exposed to the arcade version of the original game nearly as much as some people were. Initially, most of my experience with Double Dragon came from the NES port, which many people remember was not too spectacular, especially when compared to the Master System's port, the Sega Master System version of the game at the time. It was generally thought that the NES was the superior system, but at the same time, really hard to fathom why that port of Double Dragon was flubbed the way it was. It's still a great game in itself. I mean, as far as a beat-em-up game on a home console, it's hard to argue that that's one of the more entertaining ones to play. But when compared to the arcade version, I mean, the differences are more than subtle. Not really sure why the NES port was done so lackadaisically. And boy, I just got my ass handed to me right there. But not sure why more work wasn't put into that game. Excuse me. But Double Dragon 2, they definitely picked up the ball, and I only came across the Double Dragon 2 in the arcades, I think maybe one time, if I remember correctly. I did eventually have a couple of run-ins with the original. There used to be this food mart up the street from where my family used to live. And they used to send me up there to get milk and all kinds of other crap when I was a kid. And they used to have a couple of arcade games in the back. And I remember the day that Double Dragon showed up back there. That was my first experience with it. The city of Louisville definitely wasn't running low on arcade places. I mean, you know, every movie theater had one. And then, you know, especially back in the 80s, there were little independent arcades running everywhere around here. But for whatever reason, I did not experience Double Dragon in the arcade until probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 years after it was out. And I was really blown away by how different it was compared to the NES version that I had spent so much time with. Thankfully, Double Dragon 2 did not suffer nearly as much. I think this game is much more spot on with the arcade, although, again, I think I only saw the arcade like one time, but given its popularity on the NES, I would say they got things right this time. And we move into the Forest of Death, which very reminiscent of Mission 3 of the original Double Dragon on the NES. Got one random baddie guarding the way there. Simple challenge. There's one gripe about the play control in this game. It's the fact that every time you turn around, the buttons change. Like when you're facing this way, it's the B button to throw punches, and if you turn to the right, it's the A button. Controls reverse. And somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember them doing that in the original game. And the jumps get mildly challenging at this point, but not too bad. It's not really until the next level, and then the next level after that, that they really start to get ridiculous. Yep. Don't get ahead of yourself there, Billy. Alright. And we'll go up here and hang out with Mr. Abobo here in a second. I always wondered why they decided to put hair on him in this game. I don't know, it just makes him a little less menacing looking, I think, but still definitely a formidable guy. Not somebody you want to try to stand toe-to-toe and trade with, that's for sure. And then also earlier we had our first encounter with who I honestly believe is Arnold Schwarzenegger in this game. Or at least modeled after him very closely. Looks like Arnold from Predator or Commando or something like that. We'll see him again here in just a second. Alright, let's do this. And talk about awkward jumping. This monstrosity, it's got its fair shake, but if you work quickly, you can get up there. Yep, set myself up for that one. And there he is. Get to the chopper! Not too bad if you catch him off. Head him off when he's making his jump here. But you can't look at that guy and tell me that's not Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, who the heck else is it supposed to be? And we're moving on. evil mansion here, which eerily resembles Himaru Mansion, for those of you who are familiar with Fatal Frame. Although back then, I'm sure that wasn't the intent, to mimic something that had not come out yet. And this level used to really give me fits when I was a kid, younger, playing this game. Because that's one thing about Double Dragon. I mean, that's never been one of the game's strong points, is the jumping. It's always been a little bit awkward because, obviously, back with the old school NES controller, you've only got the two buttons. One's punch, one's kick. The other's, it's not like you've got a third one for a jump button. They've got to both be together, so does cause a bit of an issue, but nothing that can't be worked with. And this is the part that used to really get me fired up as a kid. Oh, I hated these jumps with a passion. Alright, not too bad. Quite a short level if you can get that jump through the first time. You gotta love these storylines in these older games. Alright, hello trap room. See if I can get these jumps as easy as the mansion. Wow. And that's why I've got the 7 lives, because I do dumb shit like that from time to time. Alright. Only cost me 1. And with this guy, you really want to try to get to the right side of him, and then if you can knock him off into these spikes here, you'll save yourself a ton of time. There we go, now we're done with him. Don't have to set through his second cycle while this floor is disappearing here. And this has got to be one of the biggest headaches of the game right here. We'll see if we can make it a little bit less so. Excuse me. Wow. A little bit too much of a hurry there. Oh, you bitch. Alright, patience, Willow. There we go. Alright. Well, so far, I think I'm still in the default live window here. I don't think I've used the extra ones that I gave myself just yet, but a lot can happen. And this scene right here is very reminiscent of, I believe it's Mission 5 in the original Double Dragon. And again, so many games over the years have duplicated this style of play. I actually don't know if Double Dragon was the very first one to use it, but it does seem to be the one that definitely perfected it. Don't know why we haven't seen more Double Dragon games over the years. Double Dragon 3, I really don't know what went wrong in the making of that game. I never did play the arcade version, so I can't speak on it, but I do know that the NES port definitely left quite a bit to be desired, especially only having one life. I mean, why in the world would you ever want to try to put a gamer through the constant trial and error of having to figure out how to navigate that game on one freaking life? I suppose if I'm really on my A game playing Part 2, if I don't screw up on those jumps, I could probably make it through one life in this game if I'm really pushing it, but Part 3, I just don't see that happening. I mean, I'm sure plenty of people out there have done it. It was never on my to-do list. I like games to be fun, and Part 3 was just never fun for me. Part 3 also, as we touched on earlier, had the infamous Bimmy and Jimmy Lee screw up in the text. And if you were listening closely, you probably heard the Castlevania 2. One of the bits off the soundtrack there. That's actually my cell phone ringer. Someone decided to try and interrupt me during my recording session. That's gonna cost them. And this stage here actually has the best music in the game, in my opinion. Very cool stuff. Yeah. If it works, use it. It's right around the time where you get to this stage you notice that the enemies start taking a lot more damage before they die. And Arnold's back for more, armed with his supreme bionic shoulder block. And his good buddy Abobo's here, sporting the stupid hairdo. Boy, that versus mode in the original Double Dragon port for the NES, boy, that was great, wasn't it? Nothing like picking a Bobo versus a Bobo and playing around with that for a few minutes. Especially the music, man, that was some goofy stuff. It's funny they can hit me, but I can't hit them at that angle. Alright, time for the mirror match. Whoa, who said that? Oh wow, I actually died. Well, I guess it does happen. Alright. We got one more thing to do. Getting ready to meet one of the coolest bosses ever in a game, in my opinion, especially from way back then. The Shadow boss here. Guy's pretty cool. Well, hello, my lady. How's it going? What the fuck? It's some dude with a cape and green hair. I'm petrified. Yeah, that's right. Go Billy Lee. Better beat this guy's ass after getting this far. Really, though, I will say this guy is pretty badass. I think they really had a winner here with this one. Not only is this fight pretty epic, it's challenging. It's not like you gotta avoid some douchebag that has to fight you with a machine gun, and one hit's gonna kill you, like in the original game. Actually duke it out with him. Avoid his super turbocharged attacks here. And the last shot that you get on him when the screen kind of freezes and slows down, that's pretty badass as well. There we go. Usually doesn't take too much more from this point. Man, definitely don't want to get hit by the spinning fist. That's bad news. Bam! Can't hang with that knee, son. Yeah, I gotta tell you, if I just finished beating somebody down into the earth and they said a bunch of shit like that before they died, I'd be a little creeped out. I don't think I'd be sleeping too good that night. And Billy finds the corpse of his girl. Somehow you just have a feeling she's gonna wake up. Yay! Oh, if I was him, I'd be like, bitch, do you have any idea what I just went through to save your punk ass yet again? Stop hanging out around downtown at night. You have any idea how many gangs are down there in this game? But without a cheesy storyline, you don't have a compelling game. This is one of the best, one of the iconic classics back from back in the day. And kind of wish they'd do a remake of this game. I mean, they kind of sort of went in that direction with the Double Dragon Neon. I mean, it's kind of a remake of the original game, sort of. But maybe someday we'll see part 2 in current generation glitz and glamour. Until then, we've always got the classic. This has been my Double Dragon 2 playthrough. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And for now, we're out of here. We'll see you soon.